welcome back to another episode of Screen Watcher, when we give you a double dose injection of pop culture criticism. What else? Pop culture criticism. Because that's what the doctor ordered. And at the beginning of the show, for the first half, we're just gonna do a spoiler-free. Or I guess I'm gonna do a spoiler-free. And then for the second half, it's going to be all spoilers, courtesy of our spoiler monkeys. So...
Dude. Sorry to drop in on you like that.
What happened?
Traffic was impossible.
You are impossible.
You know, it's red light and then green light. Next time I'm probably better off just doing cruise control. You know, but what did I miss? What are we watching?
Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh man, I missed a lot. We saw Mission Impossible Fallout action, and I would like to know what you thought.
Oh, I thought this movie was awesome.
I thought it was awesome.
It was amazing.
I thought it was the best one that we've seen so far. I thought it was better than Infinity War.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Infinity War is like a superhero movie, so I'm going to give it some points on there for the fun scale, but this was a really good quality film. I don't know where to begin. Let's talk about the story. Let's talk about the story. What did you think about the story?
Overall, it was like the classic Mission Impossible movie, so you think something is happening, but it's not happening. There's a lot of twists in there, and I didn't at any point thought the plot was dumb. I thought it was convoluted, but...
Complicated, yes, for sure. It's not hard to follow, though. Not hard to follow. It does get more complicated. What I think makes it complicated is all of the different characters have their own motivation. And then once you think you got a handle on where it's going, they introduce another character. And that character has their own motivations. And so it does get to a point in the story where you've got all these different characters. They all want to go in different ways.
Right.
And you understand why they want to go in those different ways. But it gets complicated because they roll into each other. And there is a point in the movie where it gets so down and dire that you're like, how can they... everything's screwed. How can you possibly come back from it? And then, sure enough, you know, stuff works out.
Well, a new addition to the series was Henry Cavill. He played an agent, Agent Walker, a CIA assassin. What did you think of him in the movie?
I thought for the most part you really could see how... like, he is not as good an actor as the others. He was definitely he showed that. Like, you go up against Tom Cruise. I thought everybody in the film was amazing. Alec Baldwin too.
It's like Henry Cavill angry.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm pretty easy on actors and their acting. I'm like, for the most part, you know, all you got to do is show up. But I'm not as hard on it, but when you see how good the caliber is on the other actors, and then you shoot Henry Cavill, it's like, oh, okay, you're not. I can see that you're not as good as them. But I mean, he's serviceable to the story, and he does play a good bad guy.
Yeah, he might have a limited range, but in what he was given, I think he did good.
Excellent mustache. You know,
I think it was worth it. It was worth to destroy Justice League,
even in just his. Going up against Tom Cruise, because like in the trailers you can tell that they have some sort of rivalry with each other, and I think that's a good opposite side to Tom Cruise, and they do portray him as the muscle in many scenes, and sure enough he does. He's a good muscle.
What did you think of the cinematography?
I thought all aspects of filmmaking were really well done. The cinematography, the music in particular. The movie was so masterfully done that at times I was like, why is this... What is this reminding me of? Why is this so good? There are times when it reminisces stuff from The Dark Knight, villains of The Dark Knight and their mentality, the music, and it's upbeat but weird, deep bass and moody nature, and then there's a little bit of story elements there too that kind of you can see that they were at least inspired by The Dark Knight. What I appreciate about it is, even though they might have been inspired by it, or it reminisces parts of The Dark Knight, is as soon as you think it's going to go one way, which it easily could have, they don't. Right. They take it an entirely different way, and I super applauded that, because it would have been really easy to say, this is the bad guy, and we're gonna get him, and it goes totally more complicated than that, and interesting.
Mm-hmm. And if you notice, a couple of series regulars didn't come back. Jeremy Renner wasn't in this movie, but I actually didn't notice his absence until the last minute.
So you had said that to me kind of midway through the film, or toward the end rather, and I realized that too. It moves so fast and it's so good and entertaining that I didn't notice for a while either. But yeah, he had been a staple in the last two, and I liked him, but I don't think the film misses him. Right. It does so well on its own without him, but. I don't even know if they could have really fit him in there. I was trying to think.
Can you say that this is the Tom Cruise show?
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about Tom Cruise also. So as always, he does all of his own stunts in his movies, and this one I can think of 3 or 4 really big action sequences, like set pieces that he did that were just excellent. They were awesome, and you really can tell that he was in there in that pilot seat, or he really jumped out of that plane, or he really was riding that motorcycle, and it really does add something to it. I got a smile. There was a couple points in the movie where I got a smile just because I was like, what a cool guy for doing it, and what an excellent, masterful way that it was pulled off.
And just compare that to some of the old-fashioned like action films. Face Off. If you look at the action scenes in Face Off, it's just like 2 stunt guys doing it, and you can clearly see that it's not Nicolas Cage or it's not John Travolta, and it just like takes you away from the movie. But in this one, like, it was Tom Cruise, and I was scared for him.
And of course, yeah, exactly. Of course, there's CGI to enhance what's already done, but a lot of it is captured in camera. And I definitely think you can't fake that. Like there's an image, a camera shot of Tom Cruise from the back in the helicopter, and they give you that shot to show you he's really in that seat and he's really doing it, and it was really cool.
Yeah, I was like, look at this crazy person.
He does so. I mean, this is the 6th movie in the franchise, and of course you would think, oh, he is a crazy person, but he likes to keep pushing himself to that next level. So I think that's really cool. I'm curious on when the franchise should end, because this one was so well done. It to me, it rivals some levels that Skyfall reached, and I think that's really cool for being the 6th movie in a franchise where it's had like dips and turns.
And this one was like delightfully old-fashioned in the way it was shot.
A lot of things. Yes, there's even some callbacks to some previous films, and even stuff that Tom Cruise does that reminds you of those earlier films.
As you said, if they like just stop here, I think they did a good job.
Yes.
But they're not going to stop probably.
I know. I mean, it can't possibly end this good. But for me, it was an excellent ride. I was like this a couple times in the movie, and I had smiles on my face. It was the best movie that we've seen so far for me. It was really, really entertaining. I absolutely recommend that you go to the theater and you watch it. Have an awesome time. Get a big popcorn and some pop, and I swear this one will make you happy.
I would endorse it too. Please go pay for it and see it at the movie theater. It's a type of movie that a summer blockbuster should be. Like we talked a little bit about Infinity War. It's a big movie, but honestly, as a big summer blockbuster, it's very dour, especially the way it ends and whatnot. So we're not going to talk about that. But in this one, it was just like a action. Like every minute you were with it on, like there was nothing that would I wasn't bored. The entire movie I was.
That's
bored.
A big part of making a good movie. But yeah, it's very entertaining and very well thought too, and I absolutely appreciated that. So very good. We definitely recommend it. So with that, shall we go into spoilers?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we have to cue the spoiler monkeys. For those of you who have sticked around, I'm sorry for kind of leaking that he is a bad guy, but in the trailers you can see that he's at least being a rival. Right. So he's a rival, but what was interesting, not like a big plot moment where you're like, oh, he's the big bad guy. I don't think it's like that. But what I liked is like how they treated him, what his motives were, and for me, the main bad guy of the film is essentially the bad guy of the previous film. And he's like the big mastermind. That's what I was likening him to, some elements of The Dark Knight. But I don't think that's a big reveal that he's a big bad guy.
Right. It's kind of like it's hinted at in the trailers. But
there are consequences. Characters die. And yeah, it's
Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, he is the IMF secretary. He dies.
Yeah, and even though his time on screen was short-lived, I think was he in? Yeah, he was just.
He was in Rogue Nation.
Was he in Ghost Protocol?
Yeah.
Okay, so these poor IMF secretaries, dude, they keep dying. Yeah, he dies, and then the CIA agent, she wants to bring in the IMF. And she's wanted to dissolve that from the beginning. The IMF agents are at their all-time low, and I was like, I actually left the theater to go take a quick break, and I came back, and I was like, how are they gonna do this? Because they told him, if you try to contact or warn your wife, we're gonna kill her. And so I was like, what? And I didn't want them to repeat some of the stuff that was in Mission Impossible 3, where they had the wife. The bad guy in that movie was 100% gunning towards the wife. So I didn't want them to repeat that. Thankfully, they didn't. That was one of the primary motives of the bad guy, but it wasn't not to the level that Mission Impossible 3 was. But yeah, he essentially wants to set off a couple bombs. And he wants the wife to be immediately in that detonation zone.
And we didn't really get to talk about the supporting characters. I thought all of them were just fantastic. That's why I didn't really feel the absence of Jeremy Renner, because everyone else, Simon Pegg was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Rebecca Ferguson was awesome.
And Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
Ving Rhames did really well, too. I feel like in the past he sort of phoned it in. This one, they all had more to do and more to say, and whenever you were thinking, oh, Benji hasn't said anything in a while, he jumps in and he has a good line, so that's good writing. I did want to talk about the complications of the IMF, the MI6, and the CIA. Okay. And that's what I was kind of saying before in non-spoilers, is they all have their own motivations on what they want. And it's reasonable, even if you look at it from the CIA's perspective and them wanting to bring in Hunt, that makes sense. And from Ethan's perspective, he's like this uncorruptible person that just is like essentially like a superhero. You understand him because we are 6 movies in, we know that character. And then the MI6 position to, well, actually, she was kind of working by herself, right? But the MI6 wanted the bad guy. They wanted the bad guy, and then the girl felt that if they had the bad guy, then she could essentially be free.
Right.
So you understand her perspective.
That's
as
Rebecca
well.
Ferguson's character. Yes.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting, and there are times when you don't know who to trust, and that's when things get a little bit more complicated. But yeah, excellent character motivation and escalation. Yeah.
At any point, I didn't feel like they just put something for the sake of just putting something for the plot. Remember we were talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we said a lot of things happened very conveniently at a certain point. In this one, I thought things led up to other things, so it kind of made sense in a bigger scheme of the story and all the things that you expect from a Mission Impossible movie. So it delivered what it promised. Yeah.
I really don't think that they can top it. It's every film they try to do an actual mission that is impossible, and this one was just so crazy and so epic. I really don't know how they can possibly top it. Yeah. But yeah, man, excellent film. I'm glad that we got a good episode 10. Good film, episode 10.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for watching our video. Please, if you like our stuff, please subscribe, ring the bell, follow our stuff. We have more stuff coming your way.
Yeah. And we like to end the episode every week with a very heartfelt thank you to all of our hardworking and dedicated spoiler monkeys. All right. We hope to catch you again. Keep on screen watching.